In the first scene, a little girl named Lainey is seen running around a farm and picking up an apple from among the rotten ones. She takes an apple back to her house and gives it to her mom, Jessica. When Lainey brings home too many apples that no one eats, her mother rolls her eyes and tells her that they don't need them. Jessica is a single mom with 2 young kids, Lainey and Mason. The small family lives in Jessica's late grandmother's house in the middle of nowhere. Jessica is struggling to make ends meet because she used to be a drug addict. She wants to move out of town so she can get a good job and start over. As she's getting ready to leave, she throws all the food into the car and then starts to clean out the pantry. Because the house is old and broken, the pantry door can't be opened from the inside. But she didn't know it. But the brick wasn't tall enough to hold the door. Slowly, the door starts to close and lock her inside. Jessica turns on the lights and asks her oldest daughter, Lainey, to open the door for her, but the knob is too rusty for the young child to turn. So Jessica tries to open the door by pushing and kicking it, but it won't move. When she sees that the door's hinges can be unscrewed, she yells for Lainey and tells her to get any tools she can from the red box on the porch. Lainey gets her a screwdriver so she can loosen the door hinges, but the screwdriver isn't the right size for the screw, so she can't do it. After a while, Jessica is seen sitting down, as if she has given up. But then, Lainey says that her dad, Rob, who used to be Jessica's boyfriend, is coming to the house to get his toolbox. She has no other choice but to ask him for help. Rob, Jessica's ex, is a drug addict, so Jessica blocks him from seeing their kids. For example, he is currently high and has brought his friend Sammy, who is also an addict, to the house. Sammy has been found guilty of abusing children, which makes things even worse. Rob still tries to get back together with Jessica, saying that she's too much of a snob now that she's clean and thinks she's better than them. He thinks that when they were both using drugs, they were a powerful couple, and he wants them to be like that again. When she turns him down, he tells her she's a bad mother for getting stuck in the pantry and gives her a slap. She tries to get to her phone so she can call for help, but he grabs her and locks her in the pantry before she can. Lainey comes downstairs when she hears all the noise, and Jessica tells her to lock herself and her brother Mason in her room. Rob doesn't stop there either. He starts sticking nails through the door, which hurts Jessica's hand and makes her scream. She can also hear Sammy offering to take the kids to his place, and she begs Rob to keep Sammy away from their kids. Once he's done, he slides a packet of drugs into the room and tells her he's going to lock her in until she starts using again. After that, Rob doesn't answer, and Jessica hears the front door close, which means that the men have left. She wraps her hurt hand in a few paper napkins. After a while, she hears footsteps coming down the stairs. It turns out to be Lainey, and her daughter asks her what she's doing in the pantry. She also tells her mother that the door to the pantry has been boarded up so that it can't be opened. Jessica's only option right now is to tell her child, Lainey, to lock the front door, but we're not sure if she knows how to do this. She can't find Jessica's phone, which makes things even worse. Lainey is afraid to go to the bathroom alone because she is so young. When she couldn't hold it in any longer, she peed by the door and begged Jessica not to get mad at her. A few hours later, Lainey says she's hungry. All of the food in the house is already in her car, but Rob has taken the keys to her car. The only food left in the house is jars of apple butter made by Jessica's grandmother and a bottle of liquor. She puts some apple butter on a plate and slides it through the door, letting Lainey eat and asking her to feed Mason, too. When it gets dark, we can see that the poor mother is sleeping on the floor. Lainey is actually lying on the floor outside the door because she is afraid to sleep alone. When she gives her kids more apple butter for breakfast the next morning, she sees how bad her wound has gotten. She tells Lainey to bring her something strong and metal, but the child doesn't seem to understand what she means. The little girl keeps bringing Jessica the wrong things, which makes Jessica angry and make her yell. When she hears Lainey crying, she says she's sorry right away. Lainey comes back soon after with a screwdriver she found outside. Even though her hands are hurt, Jessica starts to chip away at the floor tiles because she has a new sense of hope. She is sure that if she keeps digging, she will find a way out. But her hope doesn't last long because Lainey says that Sammy, the person who hurts children, is in the house. This makes Jessica feel scared, so she tells Lainey quickly to lock herself and Mason in Lainey's room upstairs. As expected, Sammy walks up to the pantry door to remind Rob that he's going to take Lainey because Rob owes him money. So, he goes upstairs to look for Lainey, and Jessica tries to think fast. Then Jessica says that she has Rob's meth packet with her in the room and is willing to trade it for being let out. The bad guy bites, but won't let her go because he doesn't want to get on Rob's bad side. This means that she has to come up with a new plan. She tells Sammy that she will give him the drugs if he stays away from her family. The mother also says that she is hurt and can't move around, so Sammy has to reach deep inside to get the drugs from her. After some persuasion, he does what she asks, but when he puts his arm in, she sticks the screwdriver through his palm and drives it deeper with a brick, trapping him there. He screams and swears at her in anger, and after a while he starts to beg her to let him go, but she keeps chipping away at the floor while he does this. When she keeps ignoring him, he starts to tease her by saying that Jessica will start using drugs again sooner or later because once a drug addict, always a drug addict. She slashes his hand to get him to stop talking. As night falls, a storm rages outside, which makes the power go out. Little Lainey gets scared and starts calling for her mom. She runs downstairs, not knowing that Sammy is sitting by the door. Sammy jumps at the chance to grab her, and if Jessica doesn't let him go, he starts threatening to break the girl's leg. When she hears her daughter crying, she gets so upset that she pours liquor all over Sammy's hand. Then she pulls out her lighter and sets him on fire, which makes him drop Lainey. She has to put it out, though, because the fire starts to spread inside the pantry. Sammy is burning to death, and Lainey has stopped talking. Afterwards, Jessica gets a blanket and a candle and then falls asleep because she is so tired. She calls Lainey the next morning to see if she's okay, but she doesn't get an answer. Jessica is exhausted by everything that has happened, so she opens the drug packet and is about to take it when she sees the Bible. Then Jessica sees a dollar bill stuck between the pages of her grandmother's old Bible. She looks through the holy book and finds lots of dollar bills stuck in it. Later, the little girl begs Jessica to bring her the animal crackers. As the mother goes outside to do what her daughter wants, we see Sammy standing at the window, which shows that he's still alive. Jessica is scared and tries to get in, but the door is locked. She takes the stone and uses it to break the front door's glass. When she gets inside, she follows her kids' cries upstairs and finds Sammy holding Mason and a knife. He says he will cut the baby open, and Jessica begs him to change his mind, but Sammy is out for revenge this time. Rob shows up just in time, points a gun at Sammy, and scares him enough to get him to let the kid go. Jessica takes her kids somewhere safe, and Rob shoots Sammy because he thinks Sammy did something bad to his kids. He then asks her for money, so she tells him that her grandmother left some in the pantry. The man breaks open the door and starts picking up the money that is on the floor. Then, Jessica asks him to let her and her children go, but he won't. Instead, he is determined to see her go back to using drugs and asks her to do drugs with him. She works with Rob even though she knows he is dangerous. But first, she tells him to go to the car and get the rest of the food. When he's outside, she makes him a sandwich and spreads it with apple butter. Rob seems very happy when he gets back inside. He thinks that Jessica is starting to like him again and has agreed to relapse with him and become a drug addict again, just like they did before. He eats the sandwich quickly and then goes to get the drugs ready for them. Since they don't want the kids to see, they go to the living room, where Rob injects himself with drugs. Jessica tries to buy some time by saying she isn't ready to take drugs again. This makes the man angry, so he points the gun at her, roughhouses her, and makes her tie her arm and give herself the drugs. Then all of a sudden, the drugs he injected start to work. Rob's shaking gives Jessica the chance to run. She runs up to her room and thinks about jumping out the window as a last, desperate attempt. But Rob catches up with her and pins her to the wall, getting ready to force inject her. Just in time, the drugs in his body shut down his body, and he starts to hyperventilate and crawl across the room. Jessica tells him that she put meth in his sandwich, and he is now too high to help himself. Still angry, he says he will kill her, so she pushes him out the window and kills him. The next scene jumps ahead in time. Jessica has changed her mind about moving to a new house and has decided to stay in the house she inherited from her grandmother. She now makes her living by making homemade apple butter, and her life seems to be going well because she has decided to never go back to using drugs. People in town seem to like her apple butter, which she makes using a recipe from her late grandmother. And so, the small family went their separate ways.